The question we all have is, what can we, as common class Americans, do to help preserve our freedom, our individual rights, and the great American country we love? My goal with this video is to answer this question in a very concise and effective manner, so please listen to the very end. Now, I admit that I am no political expert, and I admit that I am just smart enough to know that there is a lot out there that I do not know. But the one thing that I am certain of is that I love my country, I cherish my freedom, and with your help, I have devised a plan to effectively preserve them both. But before I tell you about that plan, first I want to tell you about the two driving elements of my fundamental personal belief structure that have motivated my actions. First, I believe that as human beings, that the most productive state of being and the highest and most fulfilled state of mind that a person can achieve will most likely only be achieved when a person is indeed free from government oppression and is effectively able to freely pursue their own personal self-interests and desires without major government overreach and control. And second, I fully believe that that fundamentally speaking, the pure foundation of the United States of America is inherently good. And what truly makes American culture so great and productive is our cultural prioritization and protection of the following three things. 1, individual, social, and economic freedom. 2, individual private property rights. And 3, individual equality promoted specifically in the forms of equal justice under the law and equal economic opportunity. The uniting denominator underlying all of my personal beliefs is a primary belief in the rights of the individual. Simply stated, I believe in people and freedom, and in sustaining, protecting, and preserving the equal rights of all individual American citizens. And I believe that the preservation of the cultural prioritization of individual human rights in America is paramount to the future success and prosperity of our country. But before we can really effectively discuss how to combat the societal elements that threaten America's freedom and all of our individual rights, we have to fundamentally understand the personal motivations driving the individuals who desire to remove them. So now, at its very heart and core, I want to attempt to identify the true motivations driving the people who are currently attempting to replace the freedom and the individual rights of the American people with socialism, divisive identity politics, and a false and unjust understanding of true social justice. So what is the problem? I actually believe that at the heart of almost every large-scale societal or cultural problem we have is not a fundamentally evil person with truly bad or evil intentions, but rather a decent person pursuing their natural self-interest to a degree that they have in essence become willing to sacrifice the freedom, the property rights, and or well-being of other people to fulfill them. At the core of this mindset is an elitist mentality of thinking that states, I know what's best for you better than you do, and enforcing my will upon you is more important for you than your personal rights and freedoms. You see, most of the cultural problems we face today in America directly source not from bad people with bad intentions, but from generally decent people acting somewhat blindly in pursuit of what they perceive to be a morally or personally justified personal self-interest, which self-interest, like increasing political power, for example, they have decided to prioritize and pursue in a manner or to a degree that it unjustly infringes upon the free will and individual well-being of other people. For example, in a situation of dire resource scarcity, what do most people fear the most, starvation or other people? My answer is other people. Other people willing to do what? Put their natural self-interest of survival above my right of survival, who in essence will become willing to sacrifice me and others to preserve themselves by removing me to require my resources. Even in this example of dire circumstance, it is not the personal self-interest of survival that is bad or evil. Even the man in the example willing to kill to preserve himself really only desires to survive. But what can make even a desire to survive a force of destruction is a willingness to sacrifice a life in a supposed effort to preserve one. Anytime a person becomes willing to do this, he or she becomes an equal participating part of the problem. This includes a willingness to sacrifice freedom and individual rights in pursuit of political power. We should never be willing to sacrifice the freedom, the property rights, or the general well-being of any American citizen to achieve an interest in increasing or maintaining political power. And this is exactly what I see happening today on the far left in America. But with this extreme example in mind, it is easy to see and define the problem and the lines of acceptable behavior that allow for civility and freedom to exist, and here they are. If a pursuit of self-interest, 1, increases or continues to allow others to exercise independent social and economic free will, 2, does not damage the personal property or infringe on the personal property rights of any person in any way, and 3, does not falsely or unjustly harm the health, public reputation, or general well-being of any person in any way, then the personal pursuit of a self-interest, including political power, is in fact morally upright and societally beneficial and should be lauded as such. But on the other hand, if a pursuit of self-interest is being pursued in a way that it, 1, decreases the allowance of others to exercise social and economic free will, 2, damages the personal property or infringes on the personal property rights of others in any way, or 3, falsely or unjustly harms the health, public reputation, or general well-being of another person in any way, the pursuit of that personal self-interest, including the pursuit of political power, is in fact morally condemnable and societally destructive, even if the pursuit of self-interest is supposedly designed to further the cause of what I call unjust social justice and or the Democrat political power and control over the American people. Viewing the problem in these terms is critically important because it allows us to define the true problem in a universal fashion based solely upon the merits of promoting freedom and individual human rights. And doing this destroys the ability of any person to claim our definition of the unacceptable as a form of racism. The left has simply been able to use the racism card to denigrate the right for too long. And unfortunately, I believe that those on the far left have become too blinded by their pursuits of political power to see that their political agendas are indeed detrimental to the freedom, the individual rights, and the general well-being of the American people. And the moderate left needs to take back their party for the good of the country. Now, I want to make my plea to my fellow American middle-class citizens, speaking as nothing more than one of you. I believe that we all need to better comprehend the fact that culturally speaking, we cannot preserve the great American ideals of social and economic freedom and the cultural prioritization of individual rights with the practices of standardized warfare that will result in casualties. Because our combatants in this case are not our true enemies, but rather are our fellow American citizens, and we should all, as Americans, for the general good of the country, want to remain united as a country. First, we need to remember that we are all Americans, and that it is an absolute impossibility to pursue the altruistic personal self-interest of preserving America by becoming ourselves the very problem that I defined that has the potential to destroy it. Which problem I defined as an individual willingness to pursue self-interest to the detriment of the freedom, the individual rights, the public reputation, and the general well-being of another. The only thing that we can really do to effectively fight for freedom and the preservation of America as we know it is to peacefully and publicly unite as a majority of American citizens who still believe in freedom and the founding principles of America. And I have developed a public platform on which to do exactly that. To me, America is freedom. And the only way to preserve it is to publicly support and abide civilly by the principles which allow it to exist, which I believe include the following. 1, a practiced belief in true human equality through a proper demonstration of respect for all those who are different. 2, the making of a conscious effort and decision not to dehumanize anyone, even our political adversaries, but rather to see the true inherent value in all human life, including our political adversaries. 3, we need to make a personal commitment to personally promote liberty and justice for all people everywhere, with a prioritization at obtaining it at the national level. And 4, we each need to personally commit to work hard to the best of our individual abilities to pursue happiness and contribute to the fabrication of a healthy human society in a beneficial and productive manner. In other words, I am asking you to personally pledge to uphold these ideals in your own life and unite publicly with me by publicly making and sharing the Pledge to be American. This is how I see it, and this is my primary objective. If I can get the 70 to 80% of Americans who still strongly believe in freedom and the American foundation to publicly support this movement, then I believe that no amount of political correctness, divisive identity politicking, or unjust social justice will be able to divide us as a nation and remove our freedoms and our God-given individual rights. Because before our politics, I believe that true Americans will in fact recognize that we are still indeed, as a nation, still united as Americans. I believe that it is time for every true American to show their true colors, which colors are red, white, black, brown, rainbow, and hopefully blue will join us as well. Please publicly join my effort to unite Americans, preserve freedom, and protect individual rights. To do so, please download Pursuit of Happiness from the App Store or Google Play and make the pledge to be American today. Thank you to all who do, and God bless America.